Welcome back in, builders. This week we're taking a look at Feminie, Sage Queens. Feminie is a hidden queendom in a faraway land ruled by women. It was once the Amazon queendom, subservient to magnificent Ind, but when the Khans of Tianqi defeated the sacred armies of Ind and killed the Prester king himself, the dominion of Ind was broken, and the subservient tribes and kingdoms found themselves free of the yoke of the magnificent kingdom. The sorceresses of Feminie salvage the esoteric knowledge of the sage priests of Ind and have become keepers of their hidden lore. Throughout the queendom, monasteries filled with ancient texts can be found. Abbotesses and their servants search the books for arcane secrets to further the magical might of Feminie. The queendom is now ruled by wise and able sage queens who hide their lands from outside threats. So again, we're taking a look at another one of the successor nations from Ind, and one of the newer nations to the game. Let's see how they hold up. For national features, we are humans, and we prefer heat scale of +1. For military, we have human infantry and knights, some sacred infantry. Magic-wise, we are good at astral, glamour, and fire, and a little bit of water and nature. Overall, pretty decent little splash there. For priests, we have medium, which means priest level 2s, and we have divinely inspired researchers. This means that we have some researchers that are priests, essentially. A little different. We'll show them off here in a second. For Dominion, our Dominion hides province ownership. I don't find this feature particularly great. In single player, it basically does nothing. The AI gets to see you wherever you're at anyways. And in multiplayer, I feel like people use this as an excuse to attack you. They'll know that you're going to bump or that you own something, and they'll just play ignorant that, oh, I didn't know you. That was your Dominion. My bad. Oh, no, I'm not actually going to give it back, though. Scales in Dominion, we get a magic limit of +1. We build standard forts of the era, which means citadels, and we get half-price temples, which is pretty nice. Overall, an okay setup here. For sites, we have the Veiled City. That allows us to get our cap-only Sage Queen along with the cap-only Sacred Leader and our cap-only Sacreds, and it produces 2 Glamour Gems, a Fire Gem, and an Astral Pearl. Overall, a okay set of gem income. Units and Sacreds. Unfortunately, as mentioned above, we are a human nation, and we are not superhumans either. We are just humans. Uniquely enough, this entire nation is all female soldiers and mages and priests. Things that target females, such as an incubus, would be effective here, whereas those are usually very, very niche. Be careful. Otherwise, things that normally you don't think about, like a succubus, will not help on this nation. Going into the units themselves, we start off with the Feminie Militia. It's a militia unit. It's slightly better than most militia units, at least the morale's a little bit better, but otherwise pretty garbage. Next, we have, unfortunately, the Feminie Archer. Man, I wish this was a crossbow. If this just had a crossbow. It's 10 gold, 5 resources, 9 recruitment points. It has human stats. We are only protected at 5 here. 9 on the head, 5 on the body. That's basically non-existent. We might as well not pay the resources for it. Our precision is better than normal human, so we are at 11 precision. And we have short bows. I don't think these are good. However, I think there's something to be said about recruiting some just to fire at crossbows. This is much cheaper than most crossbows will be, and they are a little more accurate, so maybe they can counter battery them. That being said, 11 piercing damage against an armored crossbow, basically not going to do anything. So beyond firing at maybe barbarians, or as mentioned, as distractions, I'd rather the enemy crossbows kill all of these than my other troops. Not particularly great, unfortunate. It's so sad that we do not have a crossbow here. Next up, we have the Feminie City Guard. 10 gold, 21 resources, 9 recruitment points. Basically human stats with slightly better morale. We have a castle defense bonus, which lets us defend the castle at a 1.0 strength, so that is handy. Wielding a glaive with a plate cuirass and a reinforced leather cap. These are underperforming just as a baseline unit, but I feel like if you can buff them up, this would be okay. Giving them Battle Fury for 2 extra attack and 2 extra morale especially would help them not only repel, but also actually hit with this quite devastating glaive that they have. At 9, however, they're going to struggle to actually land those hits. Same thing with defense. Having 9 on the head and 14 on the body is a little bit too low for most of the combat that you would want to put them into. But if we could give them, say, Legions of Steel or other protection buffs, or frankly, just anything would help them. This is an okay price for the chassis. It just needs some magical oomph to make it a lot better. That being said, though, you're probably still going to have a problem with crossbow bolts into this, so that may not be best if the enemy is using mass crossbows. Next up, we have the Feminie Soldier. This one wields a spear. This is unfortunate again. 14 protection, 16 on the head from the Plate Cuirass Iron Cap with just a normal shield and a normal spear at human strength. Not going to cut it in the late age. 13 piercing damage is below that kind of 16 gold standard. You're going to struggle in line combat. Your one saving grace is you are wielding a length 3 weapon. So perhaps if the enemy does not have good defense, you might be able to get some repels. But beyond that, not particularly impressed with this unit. Yeah, unfortunate. Next, we have the Feminie Swordswoman. This is 12 gold, 24 resources, 14 recruitment points, human stats, slightly better training with the attack skill and morale. You wielding a broadsword, 12 attack, 16 damage. This is a usable line troop. Yeah, our protection is only 14, but that's in the realm, let's call it. I would call this like a medium troop, frankly. Yeah, not meeting that 16 ideal, but that's okay. These are close-ish. Again, buffs would be really appreciated here. 14 attack would make this a pretty deadly little weapon. 12 and 16 is fine. They're going to be a little fragile on the return damage, unfortunately. But this is a usable troop. Not a glowing endorsement, I know. Next, we have Lady at Arms. This is very similar to the End troop version. It might even be identical. 15 gold, 26 resources, 21 recruitment points. Better than human stats, 11 HP. Good attack, good defense, good morale. Protection is up to 15. Unfortunately, that's still only 14 on the body. Wielding the same broadsword, but now we're up to 13 attack. Again, these are fine. The biggest bump here is actually going up to Kite Shield. Kite Shields are excellent. It's a 19 protection shield that only has 2 encumbrance, along with 6 parry. That's not terrible. This is a good line troop, and it will actually win a lot of line engagements because of the 13 attack with 16 damage. So these are usable, but they do pay a bit of a premium for that top quality gear. Next, we have Lady Knights. This is a pretty usable heavy cav. 55 gold, 66 resources, 51 recruitment points. I would call that about average for a heavy cav. They have good stat line, including 17 defense on the rider. Magic resistance is 10, 14 morale. They have an actual lance, so you're pretty likely to get a kill on that first hit. And then they swap over to a broadsword. 13 attack skill with 17 slashing is pretty darn good. They're armored with full plate mail, a full helmet, and a kite shield. That'll help them a lot against getting sniped off by crossbows. And their mount is a destrier, and it has full plate barding. 18 on the body, 21 on the head. This is a pretty vanilla heavy cab, but it's okay. It'll work. I think you could even expand with these. If you could get something early to buff them just a little bit, again, just that little bit of edge, like an extra little protection would make them really hard for standard troops to be able to take out, or a little extra attack just to make them a little more killier, or quickness buff just to get them across the field a little faster. Movement speed also plays into the lance hit. Again, just a good chassis for taking buffs. Not a stellar unit, but a good unit. These two both are probably your bread and butter, but as you notice, 66 resources and 26, you're definitely going to need production, and recruitment points are not that much lower either, so you're probably going to like a little bit of order too. Finally, we have our Sacred, the Veiled one. This is a cap-only Sacred. This is, again, I would kind of call it like a medium troop. Like, it is armored, but it's not that 16 ideal. We have 15 here, in fact, again, that 14 on the body. It is a stealthy troop, and it is very stealthy. 90 stealth is really, really good. And it has glamour, so that's pretty decent. Of course, it's sacred, but that's kind of where the greatness ends. Not particularly better than human stats. 12 HP is not that different than 10. Strength is the same. Okay attack skill, okay defense skill, okay morale, good morale even. Okay combat speed. Encumbrance isn't ridiculous. They are wielding a Spetum, which is a good weapon. It's a length 3, so you could do some repels, and they're good with it, with 12 attack. 19 piercing damage isn't terrible. Plate cuirass and a half helmet. That being said, it's a human medium infantry in late age. It's okay. If I was going to make a bless specifically to make these good, I'm not saying this is a good bless, but I think I would go for repels, and then you need something to stop crossbows from killing you. So air shield, ethereal, although we have decent to good access to astral, so I don't know if I would want to take that on a bless. Twist fate, maybe. Having that plus some glamour is a little bit defensive. This is the type of unit that really likes getting veterancy and leveling up. So I would probably go with probably repel would be my big one. Maybe quickness would up your defense, which helps with the glamour. It ups your attack, which helps with the repels. Also gives you some more attack density. That's an expensive bless though for just kind of a mediocre unit. I do like them. And you do have a leader who also is stealthy, and I believe she can bless. Let me double check that. Yeah, and she can bless. So I think the main use for these is stealth raiding parties. 90 stealth is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. You would need 90 patrol strength to have a 50% chance of finding these. So you could do some elfing, which is like sneak behind enemy lines and then attack them when you're not expecting it. I think that could work. And it is nice that we have a leader who can bless some of them and actually does have a little bit of magic for herself. So I think that's a use there. They don't really even need that much of a bless, though. If you're just finding low amounts of PD, these are probably fine and will probably be able to beat most PD with just their baseline stats. Again, though, I don't think you want a super high bless. If you have something that makes these amazing, let me know, but I don't think that's where we spend our design points. Heroes, Commanders, and Prophet. For heroes, we have 1, the Firstborn of the Lost. This dude's been eating all the protein powder around here. He is the masculine energy of Feminie. 3 astral, 3 nature, 3 blood. He has a magic item, the Crown of It gives him awe and removes homesickness. So that's kind of cool. He has fear, he has awe, he has fire resistance, poison resistance. He is a strong heretic. He is a healer. He is a population killer and an unrest causer. That being said, I think this is a good hero. He's by far your strongest nature, and he's also your only blood access, both of which are good. He would sure like at least a actual body armor, at least. To get him up and running, and I would consider a bracer protection because you're probably not taking off. Well, I guess you could replace the crown here. That's not the same as this magic item, I don't think. Maybe that is. Either way, he goes with magic weapons, so at least give him a body armor, maybe a bracer protection minimum. You are going to be sad if you lose this guy, that's for sure. Going up to commanders, we start off with a scout, the Feminie scout. 35 gold, 4 resources, 1 recruitment point. Perfectly fine scout. Stealth is 50, that's fine. Always nice to have dependable scout recruitment. We have the Feminie commander. Only has 75 leadership, unfortunately. Would have really preferred this to have 100. That said, broadsword, standard heavy gear, does have that kite shield, which is nice for, or excuse me, does not have a kite shield, despite the graphic looking like it. I made the mistake earlier. Very disappointing that she doesn't have an actual kite shield when the picture shows it. That being said, this is okay for moving troops around, move some cav around if you need to, something like that. This is our better leader, though, the lady commander. 100 actual leadership, 145 gold, 66 resources, 1 recruitment point. Same gear as your lady knights. It's a fine leader. Be careful about getting shot out if you're leading just infantry. Being able to fire cavalry with crossbowmen will target this if there's no other cavalry to be shot at, so just be aware of that. But they are your 100 leadership units, and these ones do actually have their kite shield. Next, we go into Cloistered Lady. This can be recruited outside of forts, does need a temple. This is one of our more interesting things. It is priest level 1, 4 research, divine insights. Divine insights, the number of active researchers with divine insights is limited to the strength of the dominion in this province. What that means is you need to have a lab to be able to research. But once you have the lab, you can only have a number of these researching in that province equal to the number of candles. So if you have 4 candles, you can have 4 of these doing research. Now, at first glance, you're like, well, I still need the lab. Like, what's the point? Well, you only need a temple to recruit these, and they're only 1 recruitment point. So even outside of your fort, you could still get 1 of these per turn, and you do get affected by magic scales, and we do have +1 magic scale. So if you go to Magic 3, let me find one, you actually have 7 research. 7 research on that ridiculous of a cheap chassis is not to be underestimated. 65 gold for 7 research is great. For 26 gold per year is very efficient. Now, the downside is you still have to build the labs, but labs don't get destroyed when you get raided. So it's not like you're going to permanently lose those even if you get raided. And these are dirt cheap to be able to replace people you lose. And even if you don't go crazy on these, they are still really cheap. 65 gold for 4 isn't terrible. And the 26 upkeep is not bad there either. So I'm not jumping for joy on these, but I do think they're usable. Being able to get them outside the forts just means a way to supplement your research. Even if you only got a few of these and sent them to your forts where you had a lab built anyways, I think they'd still be fine. So just interesting here. If you don't take any magic scales, I think they're less interesting. 3 magic scales obviously almost doubles their research. Next, we have the Feminie Abbess. This is basically the same thing. This is our peace level 2. Research went up a little bit more pricey. I like these as my temple builders. I have them build a temple and then they can preach up from there. I would not get them for the research ability. It's just the value isn't as good as the other one. You do have recruit point 2 for a priest level 2. If you need to do banishes, you got it here. We don't mind getting sermons of courage. We're not super duper brave on our troops, so that's always nice. Even just throwing a couple of these in an army just for that is probably fine. Next, we have the Feminie Savant. This is a relatively cheap mage, 120 gold, 1 resource, 2 recruitment point. You're guaranteed Astral 1, and you get a 100% chance of Fire, Water, Nature, Glamour. Most of these are okay at level 1, especially the Nature and the Glamour. The other 2 are a little more iffy. These, I would say, are mainly going to do your Astral buffing. Maybe join some early game communions to support somebody. I think we have a better unit for actual communions, but that would be okay. Do note these are not sacred, unfortunately. They are 13 research for 96 gold. Nice and efficient there because they're adept researcher +4. I think if you get the nature or the glamour, also another good combat mage. And even if you just use these to do twist fate, luck, body ethereal, just some cheapy buffers are really nice. A few lady knights getting body ethereal are a very nice expansion force. And that would really help them out against some of the stuff that they would struggle with otherwise. That being said, we have better mages. Next, we have the Lore Mistress. Speaking of, 270 gold, 1 resource, 4 recruitment points. So is slow to recruit, but this is not a cap-only mage, so you can get these elsewhere. You're guaranteed Fire, Astral, Glamour, and you get 2 separate 100% chances of Fire, Water, Astral, Nature, Glamour. Don't count on that. If you're thinking, oh, I'm going to hit double nature, the odds of double nature are pretty low. You have to hit a 20% and a 20%. So that is a very low chance that that's going to happen. That said, for, again, early game jumping into a communion to support the paths that they have, very viable. Research, 21 research for 216 gold per year is right at average, I would say. So while they're waiting around, they're doing okay research and they're doing fast research, even if it's not super efficient. So I actually think these are okay if you have the money to throw at them. Next, we have the Feminie Sorceress. This is kind of your workhorse mage. 315 gold's a little pricey, but not cap only, not slow to recruit. They have human stats with okay morale. 252 gold is expensive for the research, so you're not getting them for that. They have a little bit of leadership. They come in with 2 fire, 2 astral, 2 glamour. That's a great pathing. Most of the things you would want to do in any of these paths can easily be accessible. We have summon Phoenix Power. We have Light of the Northern Star, or Power of the Spheres. We have Twilight being able to be cast and boosted. All those things are nice. You could power the spheres into Twilight for the rest of your army if you had to. Great pathing here. Mind Burn right out of the bat. With the summon power, you could easily throw some fireballs or flame strikes. Glamour stuff is excellent, both for buffing and offensive-wise. This is just a workhorse mage, and you notice on nations that just don't have a workhorse mage, so it's great to see that here. They also have Veil Army. Units with this ability are able to cast illusions to obfuscate their entourage. The number of units in their entourage are hidden and cannot be detected by enemies while moving in their own lands. So if she's leading troops, which includes 80 magic leadership, then the enemy doesn't get to see those. Yeah, that's more of a multiplayer thing than a single player thing. You could do some sneak stuff there. That being said, I mean, I'm not putting huge weight on that. For me, this is a good combat mage. Lots and lots of good spells you can do here. Also, I think these are worth thinking about, although probably the Lore Mistress more. Shrouds. We have native astral income, and I do think a Mage Bless isn't terrible here. Yes, none of the mages we've looked at up until this point are sacred, but a lot of the communions you would probably want to lead with your Sage Queen, who is sacred. So we could dole out some shrouds and make other people sacred if we take a Mage Bless. So just food for thought on that one. Also, matrices would be interesting here, again, just to get us into those communions earlier. Next, we have a cap-only leader. This is the leader of our sacreds, the Unseen One. Has Glamour 1, Priest level 1, 7 research, is stealthy 90, has Glamour, and is a combat caster. These are fine. It's a little sad. I guess it's good she has a shield so she doesn't get shot, but losing the Spetum for a broadsword's a little sad, although she's really good with it. So there's something to be said there. Good attack skill here. Maybe, I mean, these are never going to be heavy thugs or anything, but just having the glamour does open up a little bit of self-buffing that makes you a lot tougher than you might otherwise be. Maybe she gets like a 5 gem AoE weapon and she can help. And she does have combat caster, which is kind of rare, although the pathing's kind of for that. 50 leadership. I think you would only particularly get these if A, you wanted one unit that could build both temples and labs. That's one use, and it's nice and stealthy while doing it. Or B, you're leading around some sacreds to go do some raiding. I think in those two situations, these are pretty decent. Outside of that, though, I don't know. Also, while this has Veiled Army, she does not have stealth herself. So you would need to either shroud her with Obfuscate Bless or find another way to give her stealth if you were going to have her support those troops, which is too bad. That would be a disgusting little support unit there. Finally, we have the cap-only Sage Queen. This is a 545 gold, 1 resource, slow to recruit, cap mage. That being said, a very good one. Unfortunately, she is basic human stats, so be careful about that. Good magic resistance, fine morale, good leadership, including good magic leadership. Guaranteed to have Fire 1, Astral 3, Glamour 3, Priest level 2, and has a 10% chance of Fire, Water, Astral, Nature, Glamour. I wouldn't count on that. So what do you get here? Well, you can instantly Twilight right out of the gate. You can Light of the Northern Star right out of the gate. And then you can do other buffs from there in. I do think that supporting these with some communions would definitely be worth it. This is such a powerful mage. Even just giving her like 2 communion slaves, like if we just added in, probably would use the Lore Mistresses, like 2 of these, just to give her some more fatigue battery, because you're likely going to do one of the big buff spells, and then you're going to kind of poop out. She is old also, and I don't think this is a nation that we're interested in taking unaging on, despite what she'll tell you. It's just not worth it. That being said, great mages to lead a communion if you do go that route. Could be quite interesting there. You're able to do anti-magic turn 1. You're able to do Twilight turn 1, and just other big spells from those just right off the bat. I think this is a great mage. She has Veil Army, and she's a good leader on this one. So if you put 110 troops under her command, the enemy won't see that. So have her run around, maybe with like a different leader with like 50 troops or something. So the enemy's like, oh, hey, I could snipe out a Sage Queen. And then lo and behold, you have 160 troops when they actually attack you. Could be a thing. I mean, how many times are you going to trick somebody with that? I don't know. But it's interesting. It tangentially could be useful. Overall, I think this is a fine mage, and I do think once you get going, you would sure like to just spam these out of your capital and just get the big stuff up. Having Astral and Glamour and Fire are great combat paths, and we have enough of it on this nation that we're pretty much guaranteed to have something interesting to do. Falling Fires, like I said, Anti-Magic, Astral Geysers, Astral Fires, Twilight leads us into big Glamour Evocations, Falling Fires, if I didn't already say that, Praise Rex, Illusionary Army could be interesting. Lots and lots of good magic there. Overall, I think these commanders are okay. I'm a little sketched about only having a good commander on a slow to recruit cap only old lady and a cavalry leader, just because of how easy it is for bad things to happen in those situations. But I don't think that's quite crippling or anything, just something to be aware of. The troops down here, kind of disappointing for the most part. Much better when you have buffs, but who isn't? The Lady at Arms is a fine frontline unit, but she's not cheap. The Heavy Cav is a fine Heavy Cav, but that's it. It's not exceptional. The Sacred's okay, but again, not exceptional. I think this nation is really looking to leverage that magic. I think that's where your strength lies. Who would I make my profit? I think I'm probably looking at an unseen one, a Lady Commander, or a Feminie Commander. You start with a Feminie Commander. I would probably just make my first profit that just to get her out and running. After that one dies because it's me, I would probably switch over to either a Lady Commander, maybe an unseen one. They're pretty stealthy. You can move them around pretty safely. Map move 14 isn't much faster than anyone else. In fact, it's equal to our cavalry, but it's as good as we have. I don't think I would go with the mage in this instance, so that is probably how I would go on that. National spells and items. As for national items, we have no national items. As for national spells, we actually have quite a decent amount. Starting in Conjuration, what nation is complete without Herd of Elephants, Pride of Lion, Ambush of Tigers, and Summon Buffalo? All of those require 2 nature. I have spoken on these many a times. The Tigers are at least vaguely interesting for having the dark vision or low light vision. Same with the lions, vaguely helpful. I don't like elephants. I do like buffalo. Buffalo are decently sized tramplers that go berserk. If I was going to pick something to do from this set, it would be buffalo for sure. Going down to 6, we have Call the Birds of Splendor. There's a very small chance that we could rain them into this, but I wouldn't count on that. This is an interesting spell. You get 2 commanders. We'll look at them here in a second. They're actually pretty decent. And if I have the opportunity to get them, I sure would. Would I build these like a build my commander for this? Probably not. If I could have more than 2 of them out, I would consider it, but you could only have 2 at a time, which kind of kills that a little bit. Down in Thaumaturgy, at Thom 6, we have maybe even a nation-defining spell, frankly. We have Deceive the Decree of the Lost. This is the Giants of Ind, and it is a 3 glamour, 1 astral, so we can natively cast this. 45 glamour gems. Remember, we have an income of 2 natively. For 45 gems, you get a commander and 15 Giants of the Lost Tribe. That is not terrible. We would certainly like to get a very high glamour income. We would be very happy with that. We'll look at these guys here in a second, but they're good. I'll just spoil that for you. We also have, at 9, release Lords of Civilization. We have the Grigori. Will you ever get there in this nation? Probably not. We have a hero that has blood, and he's only got blood, what was it, 3? And we need 177 slaves and a blood 9 that we have no other use for the whole way through. I don't think that's happening. But if you get there, those are absolutely amazing units, some of the best in the game. And you'd be very happy if you did get them. Let's take a look at those. Here are the Grigori. I'm not going to go over too much detail because, frankly, this is not going to happen in most games, but every one of them has really good magic paths. They have invulnerability 35 and fear and a bunch of other stats. Especially this first sword guy is amazing. But they all have their own uses. Very, very, very powerful. If you got there somehow, it would be awesome. Next, we have the King of the Lost Tribe. This is the leader from that thaumaturgy spell. He comes in with 2 linked paths of either fire or earth or astral. So a okay mage, especially the earth and the astral, I say, would be best because he could do buffs to keep him going. The fire, I mean, he could fire shield, I guess, and he could do battle fury. That's okay. They're relatively normal giant stats here. So they are fire resistant. They don't need to eat. They fear the flood. They have wasteland survival. They are gluttons, though, so they will eat anyways. They are heretic 2s, and they are bad researchers. He has 150 leadership, which is really nice. Best leader for our nation, I believe. Has the Dawnblade and Gore, so magic attack. Excellent. And he comes with a full set of gear. Yeah, it's just a crown, but still, it's gear. Dawn armor, Dom shield is fine. A slightly better helmet might be a good investment here. A crossbow will make you very sad. He has full slots. And he leads 15 of these guys when you summon him. So these are Giants of the Lost Tribe. Again, they have a magic weapon and a gore attack. So 2 attacks. Yes, they're size 7, but you can at least get a human in the square with them. He is armored with a scale mail hauberk, an iron cap, and a shield. That gives you 15 on the body. That's okay. That's fine. I think you'd be very happy with these. 14 attack for 30 magic slashing damage is excellent. We really, really, really would like to spam that spell as much as possible. At least, if nothing else, we can natively cast it and we don't need to design a pretender to do it. That makes me very happy. Just to flash them here, here's the lion. They are undisciplined. They have dark vision 50 and are animals. Here's the tiger, has dark vision 50. They are undisciplined. They have force survival. They are animals. Here's the elephant. They're big. They trample. They probably trample back through your army. Here's the buffalo, the superior chassis. Has a hoof attack, has a gore attack, but more importantly, they have berserk +2 and they're tramplers. These usually go berserk and then they will die, but at least they're not running back through your own troops, squishing you. I like these quite a bit, actually. The bird of paradise is the Yilaron. I believe that's how you pronounce that. Probably wrong. These are fine. I mean, you can only have 2 of them, unfortunately, but you can keep casting. I believe you can keep casting them if they die. They have big awe. They have shock resistance, fire resistance. They're flying. They have an AP 8 fire shield. They're great at sieging. They're animals and have a patrol bonus. Good magic resist, good morale. Hold attack rear will make you very happy with those. Overall, the giants are the real standout here, frankly, and quite good. Good enough that I think you are going to try your darndest to get every single glamour gem you can get your hands on. Other things to think about from magic, we would want summon firepower out of conjuration, but in addition, I do think you should consider the glamour stuff. We like heat 1, but if you go cold, that's extra design points, and if you're going cold, maybe you consider unseelie units, unseelie knights being prime among them. That being said, those compete with the giants, and I think I like the giants more, frankly. They're not as temperature dependent, and yeah, I think I like those ones more. That being said, though, I also think you should consider some of the other glamour summons. Water Cobbles get you a glamour 1, water 1. That gets you just an extra mage. Cave Cobbles give you stealthy magic pick wielding guys that are good at sieging. Very nice to be able to summon that. That being said, I don't think we have the Glamour Earth easy, but we can get it, so that's doable. Next up, gnomes. I think gnomes are a really strong competitor for those glamour gems. Again, hard to do. I don't think we can do that natively, so you'd have to have your god or do some boosting to get there. But gnomes give you a nature, glamour, earth magic caster. They have earth 2 specifically, so summon earth power, and then you can temper your armor, or you could do strength buffs, or you could do weapons of sharpness. All of those would help our troops immensely to get those buffs on them. And 35 gems is a pretty good steal for that level of mage. That being said, though, it's still 35 gems. That's not cheap in any way. In alteration, I think the big one here is going to be Twilight. I don't think we go Nightfall because we don't really have dark vision, particularly on the nation, but Twilight is excellent. In addition to the buffs, being able to give group blur, for example, extra defense is always appreciated. Displacements here, Armies of Shades is here. All those are great. Evocation, I do think we are a pretty good Evo nation. In fact, I would say we are a good Evo nation. The glamour stuff, Warrior Illusions, Ephemeral Bolt are excellent. Dance of the Ephemeral Swords, maybe if you're trying to thug something, that's a pretty good spell. Ghost Wolves is garbage. Ephemeral Blast is excellent. We can just recruit Glamour 2 mages. Just putting them into a little communion could get you easily up to this. Area Effect 4+, range 40+, good precision, does 7+ armor negating false damage, magic resistance negates. This is where maybe the penetration bless and some shrouds might do you good. Being able to just spam this is excellent. All we do is we twilight and then spam this. Would be really good. Illusionary Army is excellent. If you are not prepped for these guys, just recently we did a stream with a very scary combat expander, and we had a moment where there was a little bit of doubt, like, can I beat an Illusionary Army on when we were fighting a throne? This is very spooky. If you're not set up to defeat these and the enemy spams out, I don't know, 60, 100, 120, you're going to have problems. You're going to poop out, and then they're going to start hitting you with that false damage that you can't regenerate. That can be very, very spooky. Also, we can do false horrors. False horrors are pretty good. They have an excellent fear aura on them. We're not a particularly large fear nation, but adding fear to any strategy is pretty decent. Beyond that, we can maybe get to Shimmering Fields. All we need to do is communion up. And this is an area effect 50, which is incredible. Again, a magic resistance negates, but armor negating damage, which is great. Also, I guess I should mention in here, Fire is another good one. We can easily spam some fireballs if that's just better than the Ephemeral Bolt for whatever reason for you. We can do Falling Fires very easily, and we can do Hidden Flame. Hidden Flame is excellent at destroying magic beings, so if you're up against that, you can absolutely destroy there. In Astral, we can do Astral Fires. Again, we have to do a little bit of work, but I mean, our cap-only mage only needs to get Power of the Spheres, and she's good to go. Or a tiny little communion. Astral Fires is Air Effect 1, only 20 fatigue, does 10 damage, that's armor negating, and it's difficult to negate with magic resistance. And Astral Fire area gives us an AoE 6, 10 damage, armor negating, magic resistance negates. So this is actually a really good, relatively safe because it's precision 100. So you're not going to get the worst friendly fire from this. Good AoE on it. Again, though, penetration items are going to really juice this spell up. You're going to be very happy that you have that. Moving to construction, Dreamstones for a research boost would be excellent. The Glamour booster requires Glamour 2. The other one requires, I believe it's Glamour and Earth, so you need a Pretender to get that. Fire boosters are kind of hard for us to get in this one. Astral boosters, of course, you either go high for just the Starshine cap, which needs Astral, or you need to get some Earth. Again, Pretender thoughts there maybe. A little bit of Thug gear you could do. Shrouds, I think Shrouds could be interesting if you're going with a Mage Bless there. Could be something. You might be able to wiggle yourself into some clams for some extra pearls. A little bit of work involved with that, but you could do it. Going over to enchantment. In enchantment, I think we have some decent stuff. False Fetters is never bad early game spell. Just a level 1 that can really interrupt the enemy. We have Shroud of Splendor, which gives awe, and we can do the gift version. So this would be a way to really juice up your front line. Having a front line that's covered in awe is excellent. Steel Sight, you can blind people. That can be good against thugs, and it's very spammable. So just our little stealthy Glamour 1 commanders could spam Steel Sight. That could be a good way to just end thugs. And they're pretty spammable. Yeah, they're cap only, but you could send a few of them out just to spook people. Again, we can do Aura of Splendor, a 5+ awe buff. That would be excellent. Aura of Bewilderment, again, same thing. Aura of Bewilderment in general is just really strong, and you can really buff a lot of people with that. Where's a Dawn? Yeah, Where's a Dawn is just the really big version of Awe. Again, just an excellent buff for us. We could get Dragon Master. I guess we could do Fire Dragons natively, and we do have some fire income, so sure, I suppose. Fire-wise, we could do arrows, although we don't have a great chassis for that. Protection from fire, of course. Fire shield. I don't think there's too much I'm jumping for joy on that one. In enchantment, Dispel is nice. Eyes of God is nice. Anti-magic is great. And we can turn 1 anti-magic just right off the bat. Arcane Nexus is something we might consider. Going over to Thaumaturgy. Of course, we get Communions out of Thaume 1. I also really like Mindburn as just a good early game spell that can really help during expansion because it's pretty good at just killing human targets and getting enemies to rout. Going higher, Teleportation, Soul Slay, going for the glamour stuff. Early on, Personal Luck is great. Fascination isn't terrible. This is good for stunning horses on heavy cav as they're charging in at you. We can curse natively. Luck is good. Despair is good. Visions of Death. We can natively cast this. This is like Soul Slay's little brother. 25 plus armor negating false damage. Yes, it does have a save, but that's not terrible. You can spam this quite well. It's 100% or 100 accuracy, so you're basically guaranteed to hit. It's false damage, so even if you're throwing this into like a thug, if he fails that magic resistance save, he can't regen that damage. So that can be really, really nice. This is also where we get our Deceive the Lost. So we probably want to go Thaume 6 in like late early game, early mid game, and then get some giants out ASAP. What else is interesting here? Gates of Horn and Ivory. This is another one. It takes a Glamour 5 mage, so you're going to need some work to do that. So you can easily get one Glamour booster. The other one, like I said, I think requires the Earth magic. But for 60 gems, which is only a little bit more than casting our tribe, you get a 15 Glamour gem income, and you get the extra range. I don't know if the range really is that interesting, but the 15 gems are, because that means every 3 turns you could do a Deceive the Decree of the Lost. That's really nice. And if you're going to go this high, that's only one more level. And that gets you up to Charm, which we can natively cast. This used to be Nature, I believe, and that was a pretty big hit to lose that. So this could be kind of nice. You're probably already going to make penetration items and maybe even have a penetration bless. So that could be a thing. And Mass Confusion. Confused 50% of combat rounds. Confused targets may stand there, stare, or try to move in a random direction, or attack anyone. So as things are running towards you, throwing a few of these in will break up their line, will make them attack each other. It's just a good one. This is not a bad little spell. I quite like that one. Also, Battle Fortune just gives 20 plus size luck just right out the bat. That's excellent. I think all of those are great. Fire gets you Bonds of Fire. Battle Fury line is great. That really would help out those glaive units specifically. And in Blood, I don't think we do Blood unless you're memeing it up for Lords of Civilization. But I think in regular play, that probably does not see a lot of use. Okay, let's bring all that together. Feminie is a nation of humans, unfortunately. They have okay troops, but they're kind of pricey, both for recruitment points and for production. That being said, their infantry and cavalry, the heavy varieties, are all right. We lack a crossbow. That really hurts. I think if you can find one of those crossbow provinces, especially the cheap ones, would really juice us up. With those, then flaming arrows become a lot more interesting. That gives us a lot better support that we can throw into fights. Otherwise, we're really relying on our magic. Luckily, our magic is pretty good. Fire's a good path. Glamour's an excellent path. Astral's an excellent path. I think we can do something there. That being said, though, we're not going to win big army battles if we're not going to bring some magic to bear. There's just better troops out there than what we have. Pretenders and Scales. For Pretenders, we actually have a okay selection of Pretenders. In fact, I'd even call this good, frankly. We have a unique chassis down here in the Dom 1s. We have the first Queen. This is an 80-point Glamour 1 chassis. The problem here is I would pay 20 points to generate one Glamour gem. If I was going to pick her, I would just pay the 20 to get the gem. That takes our income up to 3. That means more giants. That means more glamour spells earlier. I just think this is just frankly outclasses her greatly. For 20 points, I would add, if you had an ability to spend 20 points to add Gem Gen to any chassis, you'd spend it almost every time. Let's just put it that way. We do have Great Sage. Now, the problem with Great Sage and the problem with the Adept Researcher, for the divinely inspired researchers we have, we're limited to the amount that we can have in one province. If we weren't limited, I actually think that'd be incredibly powerful, but we are. So that's not terrible, but I'm not super into that. Going up to Dom 2s, we have a lot of good ones. We have Virtue, the Bowls, of course. We're going to look at a Demiurge build again. I keep trying to make this guy work. I don't think he works. For Expanders, Maneater can do it. If you do want to meme it up with some blood, maybe like a Hard Skin, and then just like, probably just Blood Surge. That'd be okay on our Sacreds, and that would get you some blood to get you down that path, maybe. I don't love it. We do have Serpent of Chaos. I think he's very interesting for underground nations. I don't think he's interesting for us. We have a Dave. Dave definitely works if you want to go Awake Expander and still have some scales. Our Sacreds aren't incredible, and they don't require a Bless. So just Dave with like 2 fire, 2 nature, so that he can buff himself with Fire Shield and with Personal Regen is enough for him. So you can get scales and then whatever else you'd want. Beyond those, Myrmicolion is a great expander. Again, Hard Skin's what he's looking for. Fire 2 for Fire Shield. We've done some Phoenixes. I like Phoenix. We're also likely to Temple spam, so that gives his domain immortality a little bit extra usefulness. I think the Earth Serpent has greatly fallen out of favor in Dom 6. We do have the Great Sidha. This is an interesting chassis because it has teleport, so it can just teleport anywhere within map move 100. Other than that, though, we already have the magic scale, so we don't get anything there. This isn't super useful. Dragons, but I think we need production, so they're kind of out. Moving up to Dom 3s. We do have the Great Archon. Again, I don't like the Inspiring Researcher as much on this nation. If you are going to ignore the Divinely Inspired thing, he's fine. And we do have good researchers elsewise, so he's not terrible or anything. Out of the other Titans, I really like Netter of Crafts on this nation because this is our only plus production scale chassis. And I do think we really like scales. We have okay troops, but they're kind of expensive, and that's a way to get it. Beyond him, I will mention Netter of Many Names only because she's a Titan that only has a 20 new magic path cost. So you can actually get some more paths on her at an okay price, but I don't love Inspiring Research on this nation, so I'm not too into that. If you want to go with some of the Indian type gods, I do think these are pretty decent. Devi of Darkness, Hard Skin, and some blood stuff. She can make some work. Again, if you're trying to make that blood thing happen, maybe that's a vector. I did see some people theory crafting about the Devi of Strength. This is an interesting one. She has magic weapons. She definitely could use some gear. Also, the Tiger actually has barding, 2 miscellaneous slots, and a head slot. That all being said, though, and fear, too. That all being said, though, they're probably going to rack up a bunch of afflictions. So you want to go recuperation, but we really don't want to go recuperation for other things. So, yeah, I'm not certain on that one. Could do some kind of repel build and, like, I don't know, rush some barding for the Tiger. Could be interesting. I actually don't know. If your Tiger dies, can you reacquire Mount on a god? If you know the answer for sure, post that in the comments for me. That's an interesting little thought experiment there. Going up to 4s, we do have Baphomet, and we do have the Divine Glyph. Those are excellent chassis, 150 and 110 respectively. If those are paths aligned with what you want to do, those are amazing. We do have the meme Elephant Idol. It's whatever. The Oracle could be a quickness chassis if you wanted to try that on your Sacreds. All this being said, I do think there's something to be said for getting at least Glamour 2 and 2 Earth on your Pretender so that you can make your boosters. Astral would also be nice. Astral boosters would be helpful to this. So for that, you'd want Astral and Earth. So that could be a consideration there. Let's take a look at a couple chassis that I did build. All right, first up is Lion Snake is Sad, the Demiurge. Man, I'm trying to make this guy work, but he just does not work. He really just needs higher base protection. If I could drop the hard skin and still make him work, he'd be okay. This one specifically is a Earth Glamour caster. He has Regen, he has Awe, and I added Dread to him because he only has one basic attack. Like you can't get rid of your enemies with that, unfortunately. I guess instead of taking Dread as a bless, you could just buff it. So you could just buff yourself with Fearsome Visage. Maybe that could make it work with taking a lot less of this, because these are trash scales and this is not going to help you out in the game. So again, I really tried to make him work and I just couldn't make him work. I really want another Dave the Lion, and Dave he is not, unfortunately. Beyond him, I have Ptah the Crafty. I did like this one quite a bit. This is an Imprisoned and comes in with Earth 4, Astral 4, Glamour 2. So you're looking at coming in year 3. By then, you'll hopefully have lots of site searching and lots of gems so that he can use his Forge bonus 2 to reduce the cost of things, making boosters mostly. Definitely going to want to boost up his Astral to keep him safe, but he can do other things there. He has Reinvigoration, Arcane Finesse, and Heroism. This is mainly looking at kind of a Mage Bless and mostly for our Cap Mages, unless you want to go the Shroud route. Arcane Finesse, I feel, is very good here. We're really, really interested in doing the Glamour stuff, the Astral Fire stuff, and both of those need penetration. A lot of the offensive Glamour does. A little bit of Reinvigoration just to help that out. And the Reinvigoration and Heroism does do fine on our Sacreds. They really like getting levels, so Heroism will help with that. And they do have 5 encumbrance, so the Reinvigoration will help with that a little bit and make them a lot better if they can survive and level up. So he's fine. He's a scales build, obviously. 5 Dominion. I don't feel you need super high. Again, we're not relying on our sacred, so 5 is fine. And that means we can have 5 divinely inspired researchers in a province. Again, that's fine. And Order 2, Production 3 seems the right ratio. So I think you do want to keep Production 1 above Order for whatever level you pick to build. That seems about right for the Lady Knights and the Heavy Infantry. I left this one at just base temperature. You could fiddle with that a little bit, go down a little bit. You can go down all the way down to cold 2. I believe you could go all the way down to cold 2, which would give you quite a few points. Here I took the growth just for more money. We're going to be trying to get a lot of mages and a lot of troops. So just money, money, money. And I did go up to Magic 3. We have Magic +1 on our nation, so we natively can do that. And this gives enemies in our domain a -1 to resists, making all of our resists magic even better. And this makes those divinely inspired researchers really juicy at 7 research for 26 gold per year. That is really nice. And all you require is a lab for them to do that. So you just spread labs around. You don't have to have temple and lab if you don't want to spend the 300 for the temple. And, 5 of those, that's 35 research per province. For 26 gold, so barely over 100 gold for 35 research is not terrible at all. Overall, I definitely like this better than the other guy. He was trash. Unfortunately, those were the only 2 I had time to work on this week. So if you have other builds, I'd love to see those posted. Does anyone have a build that makes those sacreds actually kind of juicy? Because they seemed pretty they were okay. They weren't terrible to me. I wasn't super duper impressed there. In conclusion, Feminie is probably the weakest of the successor nations to end. I think the others definitely got the better inheritance there. Is this the most powerful nation? No, I don't think so. I think the troop lineup and the lack of crossbows really holds them back. That being said, though, they do have some nice mages, and they do have some unique tricksy things they can do. And they have a very usable national spell to get giants, who are a good unit. So I think the trick here is getting enough glamour income to make the giants spammable. And then I think we're cooking with something a little bit better. Remember, those giants are big enough that they can push to the front. So you can have a nice solid front line and then have the giants come in and add some actual killingness to it. So I think there's something to be said there. And the mages are nice. I like a good spammable battle mage. And we have a good cap only and good pathing that's relatively reliable with a few nice little, if you get lucky picks, could be something useful there. All right, builders, let me know what your thoughts are on Feminie. I think this is a Very interesting nation. And I think, again, whether you love them or hate them, I think this is showing that Illwinter is getting better at designing nations. Hey, they even have a hero, something that some of the water nations can't claim. So they have that. And they have usable national spells, which are, one of my favorite things. Great to see those. All right, builders, if you enjoyed this one, don't forget to leave a like on the video. That really helps me out. If you're not a current subscriber, I hope I've earned your subscription this week. I'd love to have you back to chat this or any other game that we do on the channel. That is one of my favorite things about doing this. If you'd like to go above and beyond to support the channel, consider a super thanks on the video. Join me live for a super chat or become a member of the channel. As a member of the channel, you get early access to members' first videos, usually pre-game videos, but it can be other things too. In addition, you can tie your Discord in and get access to the file channel. Everyone's welcome on the Discord, but members specifically can download things like the Dominion's island maps we played before on some of the streams, the other files from other games that we play, and I'll continue to expand that as we have other games with files. If you'd like to support the channel but like a different venue, consider the Patreon linked on the channel description. I consider that mostly a tip jar, but you can also link your Patreon and Discord for the same file channel. Either way, thanks for being here. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it. Looking forward to those comments down below, and I'll see you on stream. We can do it, builders. Babble out.